Hi guys, welcome back to our channel. I'm Ru and I'm back today with another cooking video for the channel. So today I'm going to be baking for you guys light and fluffy scones. So I just want to take this time to thank all those who have subscribed to our channel. Thank you guys for the support and for all the feedback that you've given me in our previous videos. Without wasting much of your time, let's get into this video. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and also click the notification bell so you'll be notified every time we post a cooking video for this channel. So to make the light fluffy scones, this is what you're going to need. In terms of your utensils, you're going to need a mixing bowl, a rolling pin, a wooden spoon or a spatula. Then you're also going to need your kitchen scale. Then you're also going to need your measuring cups. Also, you're going to need a large round cutter. As for myself, I don't have a large round cutter, so I'm just going to be using this water glass to cut my scones. Then let's move on to our ingredients. What you're going to need is you're going to need your fresh eggs, baking powder, milk, salt, sugar, butter or margarine, and your flour. That is what you're going to need for this recipe. So if you have self-raising flour, then you don't need this baking powder. But if you don't have self-raising flour, if you have plain flour or cake flour, then you definitely need the baking powder. So let's get into mixing these ingredients. So for this recipe, I'm actually going to double this recipe because I'm actually making this scones for a brunch that you're going to have late in the afternoon, so it's for a number of people. But for the actual recipe, I'm going to put it in the description below. So let's start with our flour. We're going to measure 3 cups of flour. So for this recipe, it's going to be 6 cups of flour. One, 5, 6. So this is it for our flour. And then to our flour, we add a pinch, just a pinch of salt. 1, 2. That's enough for our salt. And then we move on to our sugar. So for scones, it really depends. For scones, it really depends with your preferences. Some don't like the scones with sugar, so I'm just going to add in 2 teaspoons of sugar. And then we move on to our baking powder. We are going to add 6 teaspoons of baking powder. So 1, 6. That's for our baking powder. Then we mix our dry ingredients. Then after we have mixed our dry ingredients, we'll set them aside and then we move on to measure our butter. So we switch on our scale and we are going to need about 200 grams of butter. Exactly, 200 grams of butter. So the next step is to add this butter to our dry ingredients. So we add in our butter to our flour. So what we're going to do is we're going to rub in the butter into the flour. What do you call it? Do we say, please tell me in the comments below. Do we rub in the butter into the flour or we rub in the flour into the butter? I'm not sure about that. So So after you have thoroughly rubbed in your butter into your flour, and then it should look like this. You can see the color of the flour is actually turned yellow. In my case, I've used white butter. So this is how your flour should look like after you've. So then after this, we now add in our wet ingredients. We are going to add in 2 cups of milk. Maybe let me wash in my hands before we continue. For dry ingredients, we're going to add in 2 cups of milk. So you will find that in other recipes, they call in for buttermilk, but I'm just going to be using milk for this recipe. If you want to use buttermilk or to make buttermilk, if you don't have buttermilk at home, you just take 1 cup of milk and a teaspoon of vinegar or a teaspoon of lemon juice and set it aside for some time, and then you'll find that it turns into some beautiful buttermilk. So we're going to add in our 2 cups of milk, and then we're going to break in our eggs. mixing your dough, then you transfer it to a floured surface.
Until it's stiff.
So you mix your dough until it is stiff. I think you can see the texture, how it looks, and you can, if you see, you can actually see those chunks of butter in the dough. So what you do is then you transfer your dough to a floured surface. So I'm just going to flour the surface that I'm going to be using to wrap my scones. And then you transfer your dough. So I'm going to transfer the first half of my dough. So after we've done this, we take our rolling pin and slightly flour it, and then we start rolling our scone. So while you're rolling, it depends. So the height of your scone depends with how you're going to roll it here. So I'm just going to roll it to this height, and I take my cutter, then I start cutting my scones. Place your scones into your baking tray. You then glaze on top of the scones with some egg wash. This is just a mixture of eggs and milk. So I'm sorry guys, I just couldn't find my big brush, so I'm just going to use this small brush that I have. Our scones look. So we're going to bake this in the oven for 15 to 20 minutes. So I'll show you guys how this look after 15 to 20 minutes. So see you after they are baked.